Welcome to the DataTorrent RTS Console. We're looking at the welcome screen of the Learn section, which is the default landing page and where the users typically end up after completing their DataTorrent RTS installation. Here, you can see a few helpful documentation links to help get you started, including running demos, discovering RTS, and creating new applications. If you click on one of the tiles, you'll be taken to docs.datatorrent.com, our documentation site for DataTorrent RTS, where you will see the relevant content. If we take a look at the navigation menu at the top, it highlights some of the key features offered by the DataTorrent RTS console, including configuration section, where system settings, security, and alerts can be configured, development section, where applications can be viewed, configured, or developed with a graphical application assembly tool, monitoring section, where running application instances can be monitored, and key statistics, metrics, events, and logs can be accessed. Visualize section, where real-time application data can be visualized with dashboards and widgets, and the AppHub section for discovering applications, demos, and applications. And now let's take a look at each one of the sections in more detail, starting with the AppHub. When we click on the AppHub, we can see a list of application packages available to us from the online repository hosted by DataTorrent. These include applications, demos, and application templates, which can be really useful as a starting point for your own development project. For example, if you have a use case where you need to ingest events from Kafka and write them to a GFS, a good starting point might be Kafka to HDFS sync application. Here, in each tile, we see the name of the application, its version. Below is description, followed by application tags, and an import button. If we click on one of the tiles, we're taken to the application details view page, where we can see the name of the application, an expanded description, some tutorial videos, additional information about the application, in this case including logical plan and launch information, as well as additional resources, such as links to the documentation for the application that we're looking at, as well as the source code on GitHub for this application to get you started in your development. At the very top of the page, we see an import button, which when clicked, imports the application and stores it to your local RTS installation on HDFS. When the application import is complete, we see a notification stating that the import is complete. And if we click on this link, we are taken to the package view, which is located under the Develop section. So let's take a look at that next. In the Develop section, we can see several main items, including application packages, configurations, a link to the AppHub, and tuple schemas. Let's follow the link to application packages. When we click here, we see a list of all the applications that we've either imported from the AppHub or uploaded ourselves with the upload package functionality available on the applications list view. To upload an application package, simply select the file and press the upload button. We're presented with a list of all the application names, their types, the package details, owner information, and several action buttons to be able to launch or configure these applications. Alternatively, we can look at the tile view, which shows us each package as a single tile and applications belonging to that package grouped within it. Because some packages may contain only one application, like HDFS sync app here, but some demo packages may contain multiple applications included inside them. We can also take a look at one of the applications and see the detailed view for that application, which gives us the application name and its type, several action items to launch or configure this application, information about its package, its logical plan, and package properties. When launching this application, custom properties can be configured for this application, or alternatively, you can configure the application in advance by creating a configuration package and then be able to launch that application with those exact settings every time. To configure an application, simply say configure, create new configuration, provide configuration name. If the configuration name already exists, you will be prompted. If we provide a unique name, we're able to create the configuration. After creating configuration, a notification is presented, and we have a link to go to that configuration. When we go to that configuration, the key difference is that we now see a list of optional properties we can specify, and those will be used during the application launch. For example, let's say we wanted to change a memory setting for all the operators in this application. And instead of 256, give them a little bit more memory. One way to do it would be to copy that setting, create a new setting here, paste the setting for memory, and then simply override it with a new value by giving it 512 megabytes of memory. We can then save this configuration, and if we launch it, we no longer see a list of configurable settings available because configuration has already been made, and when launching configurations, we don't want to override it again. So that's applications and configurations and how to launch them. Next, let's take a look at the monitor section. In the monitor section, we first of all see that there's a cluster overview which presents us with CPU and memory statistics for the entire cluster and all the running applications. So here we see that there's 9 cores being utilized and approximately 234 gigabytes of memory allocated to the running applications. We also see statistics of all the applications that are either running or have been started in the past, and we see that currently 9 are running, 0 are pending, and there's a number of failed and finished applications in the past. We can also see performance, such as the tuples per second being processed by the cluster and number of containers and operators deployed. Below, we can see a list of all the application instances that are currently launched and running. And if we take a look at one of the application instances, we can see that the application summary view is presented. There's an application name, a list of actions to shut down, kill, or change logging levels for application, ability to visualize application metrics and data, and go to the app master logs. We can see some stats about the application, such as its state. This application is in running state. We can see the important information for development and troubleshooting applications, such as the current window ID, performance numbers, such as the tuples processed, emitted, total tuples processed in its lifetime, and physical attributes, such as the number of operators that make up the application, and the number of planned and allocated yarn containers, as well as the total memory currently utilized by the application. On the right side of the application overview, we have Stream events, which presents you a list of streaming app master events. The events, such as starting operators, are in blue. Other events, such as errors, are in red, and there's typically information next to the errors, which you can click on to get details about the error which has occurred, as well as the link to the logs, which you can click to be taken directly to the container logs for that particular event. Let's go back to the application view. Below the application overview, you will find the application logical DAG, which represents the functionality of how this application is constructed and laid out, including all the logical operators and all the streams connecting the logical operators. If we use the Option or Alt key and scroll up or down, we're able to zoom in and out on the DAG. Here we see the entirety of the logical plan presented in front of us. Several things to note. If we take a look at one of the parts of the DAG, is that there is real-time information provided. The number on the top represents the number of processed tuples per second, and the number on the bottom represents the number of emitted tuples per second. So we can always see what's going on with our application in real time. Also, it is useful to use the critical path feature, which when enabled highlights the longest path it takes for tuples to travel in our application. And by longest, it means the most delayed path in the application. This is very useful to highlight performance bottlenecks in the application when troubleshooting application. Also, one thing to note is that this critical path is updated in real time and will change from time to time if the application is well tuned and optimized, and the delays may be small and changing rapidly. Let's disable this feature. Below the logical plan, which lists the individual operators and streams, we can see the table view for similar information, logical operators, and streams below it. And here we can have a filtered view if we're looking for a particular operator. We can also see all the metrics for all the logical operators displayed, as well as their status, whether they're running and what processing they're doing. Below are the streams, which gives you a link to all the sources and sinks. Some of the actions that can be taken on an operator from logical perspective is to set logging levels, which allows you to troubleshoot applications during development. So all of this was in the logical tab for a given application. And now if we look at the physical tab, we are taken to a physical view of how that application is running. So each one of the logical operators that we saw in the logical view here gets mapped to one or more physical operators, which are presented here. In some cases, some operators are partitioned, and that's why there are typically more or equal number of physical operators than there are logical operators. The containers are listed below, and containers represent the yarn containers where the physical operators are deployed. Here you can get information about which host they're running on, the amount of allocated memory and the amount of free memory in the containers, and also the list of operators which are deployed to specific containers. Let's take a look at what is available when we look at the physical operators list. For example, if we select the first operator in this view, which is ingest customer service operator, we can record a sample of the tuples that are going through that operator. Let's do that now. By recording a sample of tuples, we can actually see the list of ports. In this case, is an input operator, and it only has one output port on which the tuples are being sent to the rest of the DAG. We can also select one of the tuples, and we can see the contents. So here, we see things like IMSI, total duration, zip code, and other information in JSON format. We can look through multiple tuples, or even look through multiple tuples at once by using the Shift key and selecting several in the list view. And the data can also be filtered and searched. So this is really useful to have a view of what's happening with your application in real time, to be able to record a small sample of data that's traveling through the application. For containers, we can also take actions such as looking at logs, generating stack traces, or killing selected containers if we want to test certain behaviors of how the application recovery is done, or we see that one of the containers is not behaving well. Let's take a look at the physical DAG view. So physical DAG view is very similar to logical DAG view we saw earlier, except it represents a topology as it's been has been deployed and is executing on the Yarn cluster. As we can see here, the topology is slightly larger than it is in a logical view because some of the operators will have multiple partitions. And here, each of the boxes, which is colored in different color, represents a unique container that the operator, the physical operator, has been deployed to. So here we can see dark blue, light blue, orange. Those all represent physical operators which are deployed to different containers. Also, from this view and from the logical DAG view, you can click on any one of the operators and be taken directly to either physical operator for that application, or if we look at the logical DAG, we can click on the logical operator and be taken to the logical operator view, where many additional features are available. So that's a brief overview of the monitoring section. Next, let's take a look at the visualize section. Here, we can see the dashboards that have already been created by users to visualize their real-time applications. We can create a new dashboard by clicking Create, providing a dashboard name, optional description, and selecting the applications to associate with the dashboard, which will be used for selection of data sources. Or we can choose to upload a dashboard which we've previously saved as a JSON file, or we can import dashboards from currently imported packages, and the dashboard will be added to the list under the Visualize section. Another way to access dashboards is to look at the running application, and if that application has already been configured with a dashboard, you can access it by simply selecting it from the Visualize button here. Or you can create a new one from scratch. Let's take a look at one of these dashboards. For Telecom Operations dashboard, we have a number of real-time widgets have already been added. The Telecom Operations dashboard is designed to visualize the operations of a telecom operator, and the two data sources that are being provided and computed include the call center statistics as well as the call data records. So the important things to visualize may be the service call details, current wait times, statistics about the kinds of calls that are being received, and about the kind of devices that are most active on a network, as well as where the particular wait times may be high or viewing disconnects by region. So to manage one of these dashboards, we have multiple actions available to us, including adding new widgets, generating new dashboard content, saving changes, copying dashboard, downloading dashboard in a JSON format, and changing settings. So let's take a look at first what we can add for new widgets. In this application, there are many data sources available. Each data source has a particular schema that it can use. We support two types of schemas, including snapshot and dimensional schema, and depending on the schema used, different widgets are available. In this case, we're looking at a data source for store service KPIs, which supports dimensions type queries, and the widgets available include table, line chart, stacked area chart, multi-bar chart, notes, which can be taken in markdown format and include images and text, trend indicator charts, single value chart, and JSON debug for your data. Multiple widgets can be added at the same time by selecting the widgets that you would like to add. So for example, if we wanted to add table, line chart, and stacked area chart, we would simply select 3 of them and add those widgets. The widgets would be added below the current widgets. So in this case, let's go ahead and delete the new widgets that we've added. Let's take a look at some of the other widgets that are available for other data sources. So one of the data sources available is compute bandwidth usage by device. This is a snapshot type data source. And the widgets available are bar chart, multicolor bar chart, single value pie chart, bullet chart, gauge, horizontal bar chart, table, and note. And for example, for data sources which include geo information, such as tag store service geolocations, there are also a geocircles and a choropleth widgets available. And examples of these widgets we've already seen below, where we can see the different regions being highlighted on the map and information being provided, in this case, for different California zip codes, and information about the disconnects being provided. And in this case, the average service times by region being provided in circles. And as you select over various circles, we get the average wait times. Each widget has multiple settings available. For example, if we wanted to change the trend indication widget for disconnects, and notice when they're going up, the trend should probably be red, we can actually change the color options, and for the upward trend provide the color red, and for the downward trend provide the color green, and apply the changes. So now the disconnects are on a downtrend, the color will be green, and when they go back on the uptrend, the color will be red, just like in service calls. Other settings include formatting. For example, here the disconnected calls do not need decimal format, so we can go into number format for that widget and change it, instead of to floating point, change it to 0, and apply the changes. And now we have whole number for the number of disconnects. For the current wait times, which is a bullet chart, we can actually change it to provide multiple stopping points. So currently, as you can see, it has blue when the wait times are below the threshold, which is configured at 23, and has red when they're at 23 or above. So we can edit it and provide a value of, let's say, 22, at which the color will be orange, and then add another level, let's say at 25, for which the color will be red. So then if we look at the new setup, currently the wait times are at 23, which is between the 22 and 25 that we've configured. But if they fall below that number, the wait times will be displayed in the blue color, and if they exceed the threshold, they will be displayed in red color. For the line charts, we can select individual metrics to display, or we can display them all the metrics together. And there are a number of options available, including changing the labeling of chart axes, as well as changing the time range selection, which is available actually in every widget. So we can change the time from streaming, which is currently streaming last 10 intervals of 1 minute. We can change it, for example, to show us last 20 minutes of activity. Or we can even select historical dates, where we can go back in history and look at what's been going on historically. So let's take a look at 20 last minutes. Okay, and now we see that 20 last minutes are displayed. Another setting that we can use is one for key combination aggregates. And currently we are selecting only some of the available aggregates, including the disconnect count, and for a number of calls we're showing count, sum, and average. Let's say that we only want to show sum, but across multiple values. We can select sum for the disconnect count, the called, and the download bytes. If we apply OK, we see that only 3 values are available, and as you can see, the download bytes is in the billions, so it overshadows the other 2 values significantly. What we can do is we can unselect the download bytes, and we can go back to the view in the scale of the disconnect count and the called numbers, which is slightly lower. So this is another way that the data can be changed. Let's take a look at the pie chart. In the pie chart, we have the selection of what can be displayed for the pie slices. For example, we can choose to display issue type, or we can display service call. And for the fields to visualize, we can use the service call. Also, we can choose to enable sorting order, and we can enable the sort order by either service call, which is long, or by issue type, which is string, alphabetically. Next, we can look at one of the bar charts. In this case, is displaying various device types and showing the number of the downloads that is being done by the device, by the specific device. So we can see there's a number of different devices this telecom operator has on their network, such as iPhone 6, Samsung Galaxy, and others. And if we wanted to, let's say, sort them in order of the most popular device, which is downloading the most data, we can go to the sort order, enable sorting, and change the download bytes in, let's say, descending order. And our chart will display the most popular phones first, and then go in descending order. For the geo maps, we can choose to display various map types in the map settings, including California zip code, a world map, and a map of the United States. We can also choose to select, based on the map data, which key in the data corresponds to maps regions. In this case, we're using zip code. And maps also have other options as they are part of the dimensional schema objects, such as key combinations, which can be specified, as well as the streaming ranges. In the case of map, however, the range is actually not available. Only the last unit of time is available for display, because only one of them will make sense. Otherwise, the items here will overlap, and it will be difficult to make out what is happening at which particular time. For the other map, so this is an example of a choropleth, and this is an example of a geocircles map. In the geocircles map, we also have similar controls where we can choose different types of geographies to display. Let's, for example, select the United States, and let's break it into components of states. So now we see a map of the United States, and we can see that all the activity is still happening in California. We can pan around by clicking and dragging. We can zoom in and out on the map to bring it to about the same display as we had before. We can also change other settings about the map, such as for different visualizations, we can choose color options. And let's say, for example, instead of circle colors being red, we can choose to make them green. We can choose the land color instead of, let's say, gray, to be more brown. We can also choose the background color, which in this case represents water, to be more blue. And let's see what that looks like. So that's an example of a fully customized map. So this is a quick example of some of the things that are available with real-time dashboards and widgets. Next, let's take a look at the Configure section. In the Configure section, we can look at system configuration, security configuration alerts, license information, user profile, manage users, and repeat the installation process by going to the installation wizard. Let's take a look at a few of these sections. In the system configuration, various gateway installation options are provided, including the build version, the RTS version, the build date, and other details which would be useful for troubleshooting your installation. Hadoop information, including the location of the Hadoop binary as well as the root installation directory, is listed here. System properties include configurable properties you would normally access through the DT site file. Here they can be changed dynamically through REST services, and they include things like the gateway connect address, the DFS root directory, and a few others. Some are modifiable and some are there for information only. App Data Tracker can also be enabled or disabled in the screen. Going back to configuration, another area of interest is the security configuration area. Here, various types of security can be enabled. Right now, password is enabled, but other types include Kerberos security, Jazz security, which includes the LDAP, Active Directory, PAM, and other security types. And of course, security can be disabled where no login is required to access the console. Next, along with security, user management section will be enabled. When selecting user management, you'll be able to see currently added users as well as manage their roles. Roles can be added by selecting plus and adding the role, or simply deleting the role. Passwords can be managed for various users, and roles permissions can be altered. So if you have, let's say, 3 types of roles, such as administrator, developer, and operator, you can grant certain permissions to either view all users' packages, or manage other users' packages, or configure other restrictions in this menu. Next, let's take a look at the system alerts functionality. System alerts can be really useful in keeping you notified about the state of your system or your running applications, in aggregate or individually. Alerts can be used to notify you when anything is going wrong with any of these components. To create a new system alert, use the Create New Alert button, provide the alert name. In this case, we're going to call our alert application down. You provide the email, which is used to send the alert to, the threshold, which is the point of activation for an alert in terms of number of seconds the condition must remain true to consider that alert valid, and the condition itself. Now, the conditions are written in JavaScript expressions, and they're evaluated by the gateway. To get an example of what a system alert looks like, you can click here, go to the documentation, and look at the system alerts reference. Below is a section on creating new alerts, which has an example of calling the REST service directly to create one of the alerts. But we can simply take the condition, which is being specified here, to notify you whether an application is running or not. Let's take a look at that expression a little more closely here. So here what we're saying is, given a topic, and the topic is selected based on specific application ID, which may or may not be running, and we're looking for its state, and we're making sure that the state is equal to running. So if the application will be found in a list of available applications, we will match the state, and we'll see if it actually is running or not. If the application is actually not in the list of available applications, or its state is not running, the alert condition will fail. So for this alert, proper description could be application particular ID is down. When we create the alert, alerts are saved here, and their details can be viewed, such as the email they're being sent to, the condition, and the message, and they can also be changed here. As you can see, this alert, because the application we selected is probably not a valid one, has already been triggered because the application is not running. So the alert application down, which is its name, is already showing up in our alerts summary view, and it's already showing up in the alerts history as well. If we take one of the currently running applications, let's take the telecom demo for example, we can take its application ID and go back to the alerts management and replace the application ID that we're looking for here, as well as here for notification purposes, and save it. If we wait a little bit, this application is actually in a running state, and as you can see, the status of the alert has changed to no longer active. And we can also take a look at the alerts that have previously been active by going to the alerts history page, where we see a list of all the alert names that have been active, their time into the alert, the time that they've recovered, the time the alert's been canceled, and whether they're currently active or not. We can also take a look at one of the alert details, and we can see that it has a name, the time that it's been active, the time that's been canceled, whether the alert is currently active or not, and the message the particular alert generated. So that is the alerts history and management overview in the configuration section. Other items in the configuration section include user profile, where user profile can be viewed and information about a specific user, including their roles and the permissions assigned, will be displayed. A useful item here may be the start page selector. By default, if you'll notice, when you click the DataTorrent logo, you're taken to the documentation section, and if you go back to the configure user profile and we change instead of going to the docs section, we decide to go, let's say, to the operations section, which is the monitoring view. We can save that change by simply selecting it. And now when we click on DataTorrent logo, we're by default taken to the monitoring view. So this may be really useful if you always click on the logo and you want to be taken to a section other than the Learn tab. You can change it here in the user profile. Also, in case you've made changes, let's say that you went to the monitoring tab, you were looking at a particular app, and you've resized some of the widgets in your console and moved things about, and let's say that they're currently not in the best state. Also, let's say you went to the operation summary view and you've rearranged some columns and moved things around, and you no longer like these kind of layouts because they actually will be saved and the view will be retained. But if you go back to the user profile and you choose to restore defaults, all the default settings will be restored. And when you go back to the monitoring section, you will notice that the column order is now restored. And you will notice that if you go to the particular app, the default view, which I've already had set to this particular arrangement before, will be restored. So these are some of the features that are available in the configuration section. Some of the other items are licensing information, which will show you your current license, and the installation wizard, which will take you through the installation one more time in case you need to make a serious configuration change for the location of your Hadoop installation directory. And one more small feature that is available at the very end of the console is the information button. When clicked, you can also have quick links take you directly to the license info or gateway info, or look at the documentation which is an external link to docs.datatorrent.com. Look at the API docs, or you can contact support. And at the very top of the info button, all the notification messages that you see when you either launch an application or upload an app package will show up here. So if you click on notification history, you will see all the previous actions that have been taken, such as creating new configuration and including other errors, and all kinds of notifications will be visible here. They can also be filtered by only particular types. You can search for particular notifications by text, and you can clear all notifications from the console. And that concludes our overview of the DataTorrent console. My name is Sasha Parfenov. I am a contributor to the Apache Apex project and one of the engineers here at DataTorrent. Thanks for your time, and thank you for watching.